Good. So good morning, everybody. Thanks for the invitation to speak this morning. I'm Dan Schave. I'm the Southwest Region Director for the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. Today, I'm going to give a quick update on the Madison area projects that we have, include a detailed overview of projects we have under construction in 2025, high-level overview of projects looking out in the next year. I'm also going to talk about some of our largest projects that we have. We refer to them as the major projects. As always, when I have an external presentation, I like to throw out a couple useful tools just for your awareness. This group might be aware of some of those already, but overall I have about 20 slides, but should get done in under 15 minutes here. So lots of time at the end for any questions or comments that folks might have. So getting into just a little bit of an introduction, the Southwest region for DOT, it's made up of 16 county area, shown on the right side of the screen here. The work we're doing in the region is primarily just maintaining the operations on our existing roadways, developing our transportation system within those 16 counties. We also help locals with project development. We work very closely with and have working relationships with local units of government and stakeholders such as this group. So overall in the Southwest region, we have about 230 DOT employees, lots of consultants and contractors working for us to improve that transportation system. Last year, we had over 105 construction projects, accounted for in excess of $450 million. Quite a few in the Madison area. Madison is our largest community that we work with in the Southwest region. We work very closely with the local units of government here. That completes the introduction. Now we get to the focus on the fun part, the project. So looking at 2025, we have a project on the west side of Madison at Verona. It's going to be beginning shortly here. The project's going to address safety, traffic congestion. It's going to make a few improvements to the interchanges around the Verona area. So looking on the right side of the screen, there's a project overview. And on the left hand of that project overview in light blue at the County G interchange, we're going to be widening the existing bridge, adding some signals at the ramp intersections, adding turn lanes at that interchange as well. Moving on to the right, Highway 151 itself, eastbound, westbound auxiliary lanes, shown in maybe light green there. That's going to be added between County G interchange and Verona Ave. So to accommodate those auxiliary lanes, a bridge over the Sugar River will be widened, as well as the Military Ridge Trail culvert will be extended both to the north and the south. Shown in purple, second lane will be added eastbound on-ramp to Verona Ave 151. That bridge will be widened to accommodate an additional lane. Finally, on the far right, an eastbound auxiliary lane will be added to 151 between West Verona Ave and the 69 interchanges. So really a lot of work out here, improving safety, improving traffic congestion. There will be some single lane closures, and there will be a detour of County Highway G as that project goes. So pretty small project, but should have some pretty big impacts to traffic in that area. All right. So we also have a couple projects on the US 51 corridor. This is considered a major project for us. It begins along 51 down by the interstate here, if you can see my cursor, and it goes north all the way up to the Beltline, ends at the north side of McFarland. It's one of the largest projects in the region right now. It actually consists of 11 individual smaller construction projects that are going to be occurring over the next 5 years. It actually wraps up in 2030. Currently estimated around $200 million to complete all 11 of those projects. 2 projects were completed recently. Picture shown on the screen here, County BAB roundabout on the north side of Stoughton. Really great improvement we made there to increase safety. 2 projects this year we have in Stoughton, Spring Road to 5th Street. It's going to reconstruct the roadway and add some improvements to bike and pedestrian facilities. There's going to be a slight detour around Stoughton with that. Local access remains. McFarland on the north here, we have another roadway reconstruction up there, bridge replacement and bike and pedestrian improvements. So traffic's going to be restricted to 1 lane in each direction for that project. So this is a really big project that we're focusing on over the next 5 years. The biggest, I'd say, impacts that we're going to see are in 2027. There's going to be a closure between Stoughton and McFarland, increasing the safety at a lot of the intersections along that route. There's going to be quite a few roundabouts that are going to be constructed. So it's really going to be a much safer corridor after we're done with construction in 5 years. So we're looking forward to that project. Some other big projects that we're doing. This one's not really in the Madison area, but wanted to mention it. A lot of folks on this call are, drive on the interstate north of Madison. So this project is on Interstate 39, 90, 94. It's located just south of Portage. It's a large bridge replacement project, replacing the bridges over the Wisconsin River here. It ends in 2027. It's currently ongoing. We have a couple pictures here, pretty nice pictures of what's currently happening out there. During construction, we're not closing any lanes during peak travel times, but it will, it will be a pretty long duration of a project. It's a big bridge, so a few more years of construction. Late 2027, this one will be wrapping up. The bridges will be wide enough to accommodate an additional lane in each direction on the interstate, which I'll get into a little later in my presentation. Some other small projects we have going on. I'm not going to get really into many details here. More routine type pavement repair projects. Looking out into next year, we have a couple big projects going on. Highway 19 by Sun Prairie, there's a roundabout going in at Westmount Drive to improve safety on that roadway, and a resurface project from the interstate along 19 to the west towards Wanakee. The work on 51 that continues in the Stoughton area, continue to reconstruct that roadway. And then, of course, as mentioned earlier, John Nolan Drive, it's a local program project that we're helping the city of Madison get to completion. All right, I'm going to pivot here and talk about our major projects that we have within the Southwest region and focus on the Madison area. So major projects, just for a general background, they're generally our most complex, costly, potentially controversial projects. We try to limit the controversy, but they are the most transformative type projects that we have. The definition is right now, it's for projects with costs greater than $128 million. Just went over a few of those that are currently in construction. Wisconsin River Bridge, US 51. Well, we also have a few more in the Madison area that are in the very early stages of a project, which we refer to as a study. These projects are large. They take many years to complete. The studies are really the future transformative projects of the 2030s. So looking out, we have two in the Madison area that I'm going to talk about. One on Stoughton Road on the east side of Madison, and another along the interstate from Madison all the way up to the Dells. So Stoughton Road is the first project, or the first study I'll talk about. It's on the city's east side. We're studying the entire corridor from the Beltline all the way up to the interstate on the north. However, we have two studies, a north and a south study. So this slide here, we're going to talk about the north study. It's from Highway 30 up to the interstate. And I'll go over it at a pretty high level and then can provide more details if folks want. So the main issue along this corridor is safety, some traffic operations, bike and ped connections. So East Washington Avenue is a very unsafe intersection. It's primary culprit of our safety issues along this corridor, and it really was a large focus of this study. We went through rounds and rounds of alternatives with the city of Madison, got a lot of public feedback on this. The study is just completing the environmental analysis. We have developed an alternative that improves safety all along the corridor, mostly at the intersections. Improves East Washington Avenue. We're going to tighten up. There's a large skew angle. So if you can see on the slide here, East Washington Avenue, where it meets US 51, is quite skewed. That creates some safety issues. So we're going to improve that safety aspect of the intersection. As for project schedule, we have our public hearing next month to get public comments on our alternatives that we've developed. Any potential construction would occur at earliest in 2029 or later. So cost approximately $180 million for this project. If we get through our public hearing next month, March 18th, I believe is the tentative date. We would anticipate a finding no significant impact, and then final design would begin late this year. So late 2020s, early 2030s for any potential construction. All right. The southern portion of that study is from the Beltline up to Highway 30. And unlike that north study that's just finishing up, we're in the pretty early phases of this southern study along Stoughton Road. And that's because it's quite a bit harder. There's a lot of needs on this portion of roadway: safety, traffic congestion, um, community connections along it. So it's a little bit different than the northern portion. And on this roadway right now, we have a large range of alternatives that we're still looking at, with an expressway concept as well as a boulevard concept. So we're working very closely with the city of Madison to get feedback, local community, to help guide the study as it moves forward. It's scheduled to complete next year, late or summer 2026, I think it shows here. And it's really it's a difficult project. We're looking at some speed reductions to help improve safety, and it's really a wide range of alternatives right now that we're hoping to narrow in as the project moves forward.
Dan, it looks like we have a question from Ben, if that's all right.
Yeah, Ben.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. On the North project, particularly north of East Washington Avenue, there had been a lot of discussion in some of the stakeholder groups, the tech committees, and talked about continuing that separated path past the airport. And last I heard, the airport board had pushed back on that. Can you give a status update on that, please?
Yeah, that's correct. So we try. Can you see my cursor on the screen here? Try to show what the area we're talking about for the group. Okay. So right now we have a path that ducks off into the neighborhoods here and goes up Portage Road. We were trying to get a path along 51 to improve connections up to Hepker Road. However, that would require real estate from the airport. And that's a person we cannot condemn. So we would basically need their buy-in to get that right of way. It's in the runway protection zone. If you see the end of this runway here, the runway protection zone goes across 51 actually, which was their main reasoning for not wanting a path up there. And I think they have some, various input. So we had to move forward based on our schedule of our study. It would have taken a long time to get through that. And the airport did say they were not interested in us pursuing that or allowing us to have a path there. So we did move forward, Ben, without that. So we did what we thought was best and included a trail system up and connect through Portage Road. So
great, thanks for that update.
All right. So this is the final project I'm going to be talking about today. It is the Interstate 3994 study. This study begins on the south side of Madison at the Beltline interchange, just north of the Beltline interchange, and proceeds north along the interstate through Madison, up by Portage, and terminates on the north side of the Dells. It also includes a stub of I-39 here just south of Portage. So it's 67 miles in total. It's a very long study. So with this study, we're trying to address a few different issues. Along the corridor, we have frequent backups, Friday afternoons going northbound, Sunday afternoons southbound. That's leading to some safety issues along the corridor. The corridor was built in the 1960s, so we're going to address aging infrastructure. And then finally, corridor resiliency. You can see the picture on the right, some flooding up by Portage that was experienced numerous times. This picture is from 2008, where it was full closure of the interstate by Portage. So that's overall what we're trying to address with this study. And there's also a lot of interchanges along the corridor. Highway 151 is the biggest one I'll talk about today. There's also two potential new interchanges with the interstate at Hepker Road and Milwaukee Street in the Madison area. So the interchanges are locations along this corridor where we have frequent safety issues, traffic backups, really key areas that we needed to get public input on throughout this project. So interchange at Milwaukee Street. So this is one of the potential new interchanges from the interstate study. This is just east of Madison on Interstate 94. For those familiar with the area, it's just east of Sprecher Road. Sprecher Road is shown just off the slide here on the left. It's very close to the Badger interchange where 94 comes in. So we have some loop ramps here to get this interchange as far away from possible as from the Badger or the Badger interchange. So we looked at this request from the city of Madison. It's been in their long-term or their neighborhood plan for a number of years. I think since 1998. So it's a number of years. It's been in their neighborhood plans. We're studying it now, and we hope we think we have a really good alternative here that meets traffic demands on our interstate main line as well as also satisfies the needs of what the neighborhood is looking for here. All right. There's another potential new interchange along the interstate. This one's at Hepker Road, so the north side of Madison. This is a standard diamond interchange, so it looks a little bit different than the Milwaukee Street interchange. This one is located just to the south of US 51 and just to the north of 151. This one we also looked at the request of the city of Madison. It's really to provide better or increased connections to American Parkway area. This is also, Hepker Road is also a major regional connector. Sorry, my slide keeps advancing here. It's also a major regional connector. It goes all the way to Sun Prairie on the east and connects into 51 on the west. So it's a major regional connector and it will provide better access to the American Parkway area. This one, we will have signals at the terminals and also off the screen here at Portage Road and Hepker, there will be a signal there just to help traffic get through the area and not back to the interchange. So let's see. So I do not have an overview of the 151. It looks like interchange, but I want to mention that as well to this group. So the 151 interchange with the interstate.
Sorry, I think that I saw it. It was before the other two interchange pictures,
okay.
I think. And it just got skipped over
here. All right. Okay. It is in there. Thank you. All right. So this is the 151 interchange with the interstate on the east side of Madison. You can see our aerial layout here just to get your bearings. High Crossing Boulevard. So Home Depot is right here. High Crossing Boulevard is right here. So this is a very big, we call them system interchanges. 151 is a major connector throughout the state of Wisconsin. Interstate 3994 obviously as well. Right now, this interchange is experiencing some pretty severe safety issues, predominantly as traffic is coming into the city of Madison and they want to get onto the interstate. There's frequent backups heading out of town. A lot of speed differential, vehicles sitting in the rightmost lane and traffic going by at very high speeds next to them. It's a dangerous situation. Additionally, northbound traffic, this off ramp here going to 151 northbound, that backs up onto the interstate. And there's kind of a mess there with High Crossing Boulevard, a lot of, again, high speed differentials. So we really wanted to fix those two main issues with this interchange reconfiguration. And I'm not going to get into many more of the details, but the biggest improvements here are these flyover ramps. So you would exit 151 on the right and fly over the interstate traffic. So it eliminates that merging movement right now that's creating all the issues with the East Park Boulevard traffic getting onto 151. So this is a very, very transformative interchange reconfiguration, solves a lot of the issues that we're experiencing out there. It maintains the half diamond at High Crossing Boulevard right here, shown on the bottom of the screen. Half diamonds are kind of unique, I would say, at least in our world. So we looked at how do we best maintain that access at High Crossing Boulevard while also fitting in some pretty big new ramps. So we went through numerous rounds of public input, has a lot of stakeholder involvement out here. We have what we think is a very, very good alternative at 151. Okay, so overall schedule. So there's a lot to this project. It's 67 miles. We're fixing a lot of the needs along the corridor. Interstate was built in the 60s. There's a lot of things happening up on the Dells. You know, it's similar to the Madison area. Interchange is getting reconfigured. It's a big project. So we finished our environmental study. We were completing environmental impact statement. So that finished in December of 2024. We've reached our final environmental impact statement and record of decision. So signed by Federal Highways. We took that. There's a specific budgetary process these major projects must go through. A big hurdle for that was taking it to a Transportation Projects Commission. It's a 15-member commission. So they recommended that for enumeration into the state budget. That was actually in December of 2024 as well. So there's a couple big hurdles yet with the project to get to start final design and ultimate construction. Ultimately, construction is dependent on funding. So we're waiting on a couple big pieces to begin final design along the corridor. Earliest potential construction is, again, dependent on funding. I think the earliest we're thinking is likely 2030 timeframe, thereabouts. Some projects could go a little bit quicker. It takes quite a bit of time for a project of this magnitude. So that completes the interstate study. I'm guessing there might be some questions on that. We'll get through this next few slides here, and then my presentation will be over, so we can open up then. So some useful tools. Every time I present to a group, I like to take an opportunity just to go over some useful tools that are available just for awareness. So a few things that we have is a safety dashboard called Community Maps. It's a GIS-based system. It maps all the crashes that have occurred on our roadways within Wisconsin. It's linked to police reports. It's probably of interest to local communities, different things like that. We also have, many of you are probably aware of this, a tool that you can have interactive traffic counts. And then this one is probably the best one. I think it's a GIS map that shows our projects over the next 6 years. So it's interactive. You can click on these links and see what type of project it is, how much it costs, general ballpark, as well as project contacts. So, if you have a project that's adjacent to a location of interest of yours, you can click on it, get project details, and reach out to that project manager. Contact information is shown on the screen here. You can reach out if you have any follow-ups that you want to talk about, questions about DOT or state roadways in general. I think we have some time for questions too.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. Do we have any questions?
There was one question from Chuck asking, Dan, are we able to share this presentation out to the committee?
Absolutely.
Perfect. If you send it my way, I'll send it on to the group.
All right.
Julie and then Aaron.
Hi, Dan. You knew I would have something to say. So first of all, thanks to DOT for all of your work on all of these. And, we've had a lot of involvement in the interstate study and really are grateful for all the work, especially on 151 and Hepker, which are around our major facilities. But my question, earlier in your discussion, you mentioned a March 18 date. Could you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so that is for the Stoughton Road North environmental study that we have. So we're completing environmental assessment. So it's a little bit different than the interstate. You were really involved, I think, with that feedback. So we have a public hearing coming up where it's really the last hurdle to complete our environmental assessment. So we have, similar to the interstate, we have an opportunity for folks to provide public testimony, and then that'll get incorporated into our environmental document. So that's for that project that's from Highway 30 up to the north to the interstate. So I can go back to that slide.
Perfect. Thank you. I understood the EIS part and the project, but I wasn't sure exactly where it was in the process. So that was very clarifying. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Aaron.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. That was very informative. I had just a kind of a smaller question about the first project you presented on. You had, I think, a culvert replacement along the Military Ridge path. So are you expecting a full closure of the Military Ridge probably for a good duration of that project?
I don't know it wouldn't be for the full duration of the project. The project basically goes all summer. So if there's any closure, which I believe if there's anything, it's just a few days. It's not a really long-term closure of the Military Ridge path.
Okay.
I can get you more details on that, Aaron.
Yeah, that'd be helpful. Just curious for city's sake and my own sake, using that trail.
Yeah.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Dan. Larry.
Hi, Dan. Thanks for all that great information. I always appreciate
Hey, Larry.
getting updated on what I used to be involved with. And on that note, I'm just curious if you have any news on anything new going on with the Beltline study.
Yes. So we have didn't make the list to present on today, Larry, but as you know, we have a Beltline planning environmental linkages study. It's been going on for a number of years. Larry was the project manager, I think, for a little while.
Yes, it was.
In the really early phases, and some other things have spurred out of that Beltline planning environmental linkages. We have the flex lane that came out and open to traffic, and that was a key part of that. So the Beltline Pell is finishing up. It's in the final stages. There was a little bit of a delay. We wanted to see how the flex lane, as we opened the flex lane and were designed, we wanted to see how it was functioning, basically, how well it was working to help guide our future improvements along the Beltline. Just for everybody's awareness, the Beltline Pell, I think, was we referred to it as not an interim improvement, but 2030s is when we forecast our traffic volumes to start increasing again and some of those traffic issues to return. So it's not the ultimate fix. We are looking at different alternatives. We have one alternative, Larry, that keeps the Beltline flex lane, one alternative that keeps the Beltline flex lane and adds a lane from Verona Road to the interstate. The Verona 18151 Verona Road interchange is an issue that we're currently experiencing, obviously frequent backups and some safety issues. So we have some interim improvements that we're looking at there. It is a tough location. There's a lot of traffic that we're sending through those signals at Verona Road. So we're looking at some alternatives for that as well. And then obviously to the west, from Verona Road to the west, to the north side of Middleton, we have an alternative that's looking at adding a general purpose lane and fixing a lot of the interchanges in Mineral Point Road, helping improve bike and pedestrian facilities throughout there as well. So it's a study that's been going on for a long time, and for a few various reasons, we're just going to be wrapping up here in a few months. I believe the final report will be released.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Larry. Thank you, Dan. Any more questions for Dan? All right, Dan, thank you. From all of us at DMI, we really appreciate the update. This was very illuminating. Some major projects that are happening, and we thank you for all your help with our community here in Southwest Wisconsin. So thank you, Dan. If you need anything from us, please let us know. We really appreciate it.
Will do. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Stephanie, back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. That was a great presentation, very informative on what's happening in our area. That's it for our meeting today. Our next meeting is Friday, March 14th. So I think we're going to be getting an update on the train. Is that right, Jason?
That's right. Yes, from Chris.
Yep. So yeah, looking forward to that update, and I hope everyone has a great weekend and a great Valentine's Day.